get started here. We're in this section of Together by Grace, and it's faith, active, and love. And there is a chapter on why Lutherans care for creation. And there's no requirement that you had to have read this chapter and coming here, but I'm just curious, did anyone happen to read this? It's okay. It's a grace-based class. You
I'm
don't have to
still
read
in
it. Last Child in the Woods. We're going to talk about that book as well. And so Martin Luther said the Bible is the norming norm. So we're going to begin with Scripture, rooted and grounded in our faith as we go back to the story. So we'll read three little passages of Scripture. And I'm wondering if there are three volunteers who would like to read. I knew Janet would.
Let's give you the short one.
Okay, so we have three passages from the beginning.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 12. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good.
Life began in the garden. Yes. Okay, Psalm.
That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers.
So the middle. And now the end, our last book, Revelation.
Revelation 22:2. Down the middle of the great street of the city, on each side of the river, stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations.
So let us pray. God, we thank you for this beautiful world that you created, and help us, Lord, to grow in our understanding and in our actions of living out our Christian faith and learning about this Lutheran tradition of caring for creation. We say all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So these three passages all have to do with trees and creation. Now there is maybe more so a legend than a truth that there's a quote that Martin Luther said. Now, did he say it? We're not exactly sure. That if the world was going to go to pieces tomorrow, he would plant a tree. And planting hope, thinking of the future, even when it looks all crazy. Now, people aren't exactly sure, did he say that, did he not? When did this first appear? But some of the things that we do know about Luther and Katie von Bora and going back into gardens and that is that they did tend the land, and they would have many, many people, including students who were studying, come over to their home, and they would feed them off what came from the land. Now, of course, we're talking about a different time era where that's what people more so did, and I feel like it's still what we need to do, that perhaps we spend too little time inside and only shop in a grocery store where some people think that food comes from and that it doesn't actually grow from the land. At our house, we actually have an easement between our yard and the people behind us, and it's where our power line runs. So I like to plant things back there. Nobody uses it. And I planted a lot of our tomatoes back in the easement. And there was a neighboring house a few doors down where a couple of the children, they were around 12, 13 years old, they were playing in the easement one day, and they came out there, and I was talking to them, and one of the girls, she looked, and she was staring at our tomato plant, and she said, is that a tomato? And I said, yeah, it's a tomato. And she kept looking, and she said, oh, they grow on plants? She really said that. I said, yes. She goes, oh, I didn't know how they grew. And
Wow.
had no idea at all. And so that wouldn't have been the case with Martin Luther and Katie Van Bora. They knew how things came from the land and a deep sense of appreciation for the land. Now, they did have a kitchen garden, and again, a lot of people would have in that time. It's also a part of the history of our country, having kitchen gardens. Our 8th grade students at Ascension School, they study our 4 founding gardeners, who were George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. They weren't just founding fathers, they were founding gardeners. And they all had kitchen gardens, and you can still go see the kitchen garden at Mount Vernon. It's been the same garden, they've had a kitchen garden since, for 200 years, which is pretty amazing. So our students go and visit that garden on their Washington, D.C. trip. So Martin Luther and Katie Van Bora, they had a kitchen garden as well, that they would use to feed all the people that they would host. So the idea even of a pastor in the congregation and having a parsonage really goes back to Martin Luther and Katie Van Bora having people over at their house and having ministry and feeding them off the land and their produce. Now they didn't just have a kitchen garden of vegetables, they also had several fruit trees of all sorts of different kinds. I'm pretty sure there were apple and pear, and I was really very excited when I found out that they had mulberry trees, because Pastor Tim and I have 2 giant mulberry trees in our backyard, and this is mulberry season. My hands are still purple. I've tried to wash them several times. But if you haven't ever tried a mulberry, I thought, oh, I'm going to pick some mulberries this morning, because Martin Luther and Katie Van Bora had mulberries. And you can decide if you want to be like Tim, you want to eat the stem, you can. He just pops the whole thing in his mouth. But the Delcas Camp children are like, ew, stem, you don't need the stem, so they slide off the mulberry. But we've made several jars of jam so far this season, and frozen enough mulberries, I think, for about 20 pies.
Oh, wow.
And they only last really for 4 to 6 weeks. We'll have the tree producing mulberries, and then we don't have mulberries the rest of the year. So you can pass these around and try one.
If anybody
you
comes
like,
across a mulberry, like at Home Depot or Armstrong Nursery, let me know or let us know.
Yes.
I would love to get a mulberry tree, whether here for our garden or for me personally.
You need 2,
Really?
because they have to cross-pollinate.
Oh,
So some mulberry trees won't produce, but we have, actually the people who lived we bought our house from the original owners, they had both passed away, and their children sold the house, but they planted everything in 2s. 2 pine trees, 2 palm trees, 2 jacarandas, 2 pepper trees, 2 mulberry trees, and that's
Okay.
why there's something with cross-pollination, but we should do more research on that. So mulberries, that would have been something that Martin Luther and Katie Van Bora would have shared with people. They had that. So they had a kitchen vegetable garden. They had fruit trees. And they also did have animals. There's some tax records back from that time that show that Martin Luther, I forget exactly what animals he purchased. There was 5 different kinds of animals, 4 or 5, on that tax record for Martin Luther Katie Van Bora. So I think it was pigs and chickens and maybe some sort of work animal. I'm not sure. Do you know anything about that? About what animals? Okay. I know that they had animals there. I'm going to show you a little video clip a little bit later that you're going to see animals in our Ascension garden. And just so you know, we don't actually have animals that live here full time. Right now we're blessed with a wonderful Methodist family, which is my tradition. There's a Methodist family here. The grandparents own a 3,000-acre ranch just near Costco in Simi Valley. So if you're on the going to the 118 and you turn off the Madera exit to go to Costco, actually if you go left and all that open space back there is their ranch in that area. And so they bring animals on site for different classes. So we've had classes to learn about goats, and we'll do goat milk and eat goat cheese, and they'll bring their goats at the opening day of the tomato sale, they've brought pigs, goats, mini horses. They've used their donkey in Easter week when we think of Jesus coming in on the donkey. They've brought that. And then we have chickens at our house, so we do bring our chickens on occasion. One of my chickens is coming to school tomorrow. So our chickens are used to being transported in little dog carriers. Ascension, it's funny. So we look back to Scripture, and we know that we're rooted and grounded in creation from beginning to end. We look at the life of Martin Luther and Katie von Borough, and there is a connection there to the land and to be in a relationship with the land, giving life and also sharing the life of that land. So in this particular section of Together by Grace, it's very short, and why Lutherans care for creation. It gives a little bit of that theological background that we're rooted in Scripture and the Lutheran confessional tradition. So we affirm God as creator. I believe in God, the creator of heaven and earth. And it talks about some of the things that we have within the Lutheran tradition in terms of creation care that you may not realize is that the ELCA has official statements caring for creation, sustainable livelihood for all. There is a full-time director of environmental education and advocacy in Washington, D.C., and the Lutheran Public Policy Offices. The ELCA calls its people to speak on behalf of this earth, its environment and natural resources, and its inhabitants. The ELCA expects its ordained ministers to be, quote, exemplary stewards of the earth's resources and to lead the church in the stewardship of God's creation. And that comes from the visions and expectations of ELCA pastors. There's that might be in your work as you go to Luther Seminary, having to, I know Cole will be really good at that. Cole and Amanda are going to talk about the program at CLU with their sustainable, edible education. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. And just how we care for creation across the church, and I'll mention a couple things when I do a little slide. So it is part of the Lutheran tradition rooted in Scripture, and I want to be able to share a little more of what is happening right here in the Conejo Valley and in Ventura County in terms of Lutherans caring for creation. What does that look like? So you may or may not be aware of what we have here for the Ascension Garden and what CLU has, our neighbor, and also the Lutheran camps and retreats, LRCC. They also, we have El Camino Pines, where so many of the children and youth and adults have gone on camps and retreats. So there's the El Camino Pines site in Fraser Park, and there's also the Luther Glen site, which just, was it 2 years ago? No, they started the farm camp?
2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago. So you can go to farm camp now at the Luther Glen site, which is the San Bernardino Mountains, and they do have chickens and goats and animals on site as well. So it's part of what our Lutheran camps are doing. So here at our Ascension Garden, we, just to give you a brief history, and some of you have seen this before, but I think some people don't know our whole story, or just even hear my story. So it's 2010 that the Dresser property sat empty except for the 2 church buses. So that's that gravel lot going all the way down to Erbs Road. A small group of Ascension members affiliated with both the church and school and passionate about God's creation and God's children proposed using the space for a garden. This proposal was approved by the pastors and church admin and became a primary project of the school when it first began. One of the funniest stories, I don't think people know, is they were trying to find wood to do raised boxes for vegetables, and there was an ad in the local newspaper that it was a lot of wood. It supplied all of the boxes, and it was for $100. So Blanca Hoffmeyer, Paul, and Blanca Hoffmeyer, they're members here. You may or may not know them. They have 2 children in high school who both went to the Mexico mission trip, so they shared last Sunday in worship, and they have a little one that's in preschool, big space between their kids. But they went and purchased this wood, and the person that they got it from said that they could have the wood for free if they took their cat, because they were really tired of their cat, and they didn't want it anymore, so the wood could be free if they would take the cat. And Paul and Longa were looking at each other like, this is really odd, and decided that they were scared as to why the people so much wanted to get rid of their cat, and they would just pay $100 for the wood, for the boxes. So that's how those boxes first came to be.
What happened to the cat?
I'm not sure what happened to the cat, but we do have cats, we do have Ascension cats right now that help with pest control, just like Disneyland has all the cats that come out at night to help with pest control. The original design allowed for space closest to the sanctuary for use by the school students in the school curriculum. Plots, and Blanca Hoffmeyer actually plotted it out. She is an engineer, landscaper. Plots were also mapped for church members as well as residents in the adjoining apartments if we had a community garden. So that part's no longer there. As they're looking at the master plan, we don't really have space to do that, but can we have space where the school curriculum's interacting, but people as a whole for the church are using it for classes on how to garden, for coming to the tomato sale and equipping people in the area, both right by us and community, to be able to raise plants and do that. Right now we don't have anything mapped like the city community garden that's off Las Flores, but that was in the original design that Blanca Hoffmeyer had done. The garden program was in essence a pilot program for the 2010-11 school year. However, the heart, passion, and significance of the garden has grown each year, and the garden has become a central place in the life of the school and the church. It's important to note that when we say garden, we don't just mean some vegetable boxes, but a holistic ministry that includes those boxes, the greenhouse, storage, outdoor classroom space and resources, places of prayer and wonder, community gathering area, and stewardship and creation care that permeates the entire grounds of our school and church. Both Janet and I spent a couple days this past week working with a group called Nature Explorer. Our preschool is certified through them, and the day school will be too this coming school year. And what's really exciting is looking at a couple of our main spaces. When you go to the picnic table area there by the donut booth, you might recall that there used to be a big spindly tree that hung over the uncovered area, and there were some benches, and you could sit there under the shade, and the root system and the cement system, it had to be cut down, but nothing's been replaced. And then there was a beautiful big tree, and what's now been ugly last year, in front of the smallest children. It's used for the kindergarten classrooms on the weekend for Sunday school, as well as during the school week for the day school. And there used to be this big shady tree, and the tree limb fell off, and thank goodness it fell, and it actually could have killed a child. And they realized it was rotting from the inside and had to come down. So now what are we going to put in its place that is beautiful and connected for everybody, church and school side? So it's a place where if you're here on the weekend, you can enjoy, or our kids can use for school during the week. So that should be happening this summer and look different next fall for everyone. So what is it, the whole campus? We have a greenhouse that's falling apart. At the end, any of those who are interested and able will walk out to the garden. You'll see that the greenhouse is falling apart. It was donated by Harbor Freight. It had terrible reviews online, but it served its purpose for a couple of years for our tomato sale. And we need a new greenhouse, and we just don't know where we can plop it down yet, because of doing the mapping of a master plan and that, but we know that we're going to have a greenhouse, and we even have it paid for, partly due to the tomato sales. We made just over $4,000 this year in the tomato sales, and then we have another school father who is a CEO of a medical company and works with neuroscientists on brain development and sleep issues. he is going to be paying the remainder of the greenhouse. And because of what he does, he's really, really passionate about young people and older people being out in a garden. He's leaving for a conference tomorrow that is actually looking at sleep patterns and climate change and how it's affecting sleep patterns and how important sleep is, but how important it is for our brains to be in garden space. And he actually is a member of Holy Trinity, deeply faithful man, loves Jesus, loves the land, and when he just looks at brain and cognitive development as a scientist and someone in the medical field, he says this is where we need to be, and this is what schools need to be doing. And so he is going to pay for the rest of our greenhouse. So we just look at this whole story, like why do we do this? Because our biblical story begins and ends in the garden, from the creation of the earth and Adam and Eve in the garden to the tree in Revelation that will bear fruit each month. We are called to be stewards of the earth. When asked when they have felt closest to God, one of the most common answers people give has something to do with nature. Now this is one of the Delphus Camp chickens in the Ascension Garden, and this girl faced some of their family's members here. Her brother was confirmed last year, and her parents like the garden, but her mom might be a little unhappy with me now because Faith has been asking for a chicken now all year. You do have those kinds of things happen. The preschool has a year-round vegetable garden. So the preschool, and we can't see the preschool garden space. It's locked up on the weekend, but it's down the hill towards Herbs Road as well. So they do have a vegetable garden, they have fruit trees, they have an outdoor classroom space. They are certified as a Nature Explorer preschool. Our preschool last week in Ventura County was voted the Reader's Choice, People's Choice Award, the best preschool in the Conejo Valley. And a lot of people come to our preschool because of the Nature Explorer focus. In fact, the man I was mentioning who is going to finish paying the greenhouse for us, his daughter began at the preschool because it's a Nature Explorer preschool. And our current waiting list is well over 100. It's crazy.
Wow.
The waiting list for our preschool is insane.
Wow.
So our hope is that our preschoolers will continue their education through the day school. So that's an important to have the garden outdoor classroom space at the K through 8 level that we're certified as well. So we're going through that certification process this year. Currently our babies and toddlers come visit the garden and play in it multiple times a week. So they bring out those baby buggies and they all come play in the garden. It's very cute. Every single K through 8th grade student has garden class 1 to 3 times a month. And the work the students do in the space crosses curriculum from science, math, literature, history, art, and Bible. So they cross all those areas out there. It's pretty amazing. Our teachers are passionate about the garden, and students and parents love the space. Our current science teacher came to Ascension in part because of her belief that she would be able to teach in an outdoor classroom space, and that was a real draw for her moving from Northern California, where her school did have an outdoor teaching space. That attracted her to us. We have a homesteading class, a much loved elective. Janet has helped me teach homesteading this year, and they do everything from planting and tending to turning compost to filling the bird seed feeders to making jam to drying strawberries to creating food to redoing furniture for outdoor space. Chickens, goats, they learn animal care. They've done natural products, so they made a facial thing out of grapefruit, and they are making makeup from the land on Tuesday. So our tomato sales are a piece of our school's entrepreneur emphasis. So CLU does have a entrepreneur program, and this is part of learning how to do a business. So it crosses there. So the tomato sale teaches them skills of business, and yet they also get to learn about gardening, and we get the blessing of having monies come in. The last 5 years of our tomato sale, I forget what the we made over $12,000 in the, I know that, from the tomato sale, which has gone to purchase a nature center, and it keeps, that's what our garden budget is out of right now for soil and seed and their curriculum and their books and all that comes from there. And at the end of the day though, Tiffany Naparella, who's a member here of the church, been here for a long time, says that when children see a tomato seed, that they really see God, and that's that wonder of it. Our children's ministry of the church has used the garden space for its annual pumpkin patch, as well as occasional Sunday school classes. We really, really want to get our Sunday school children out there more than they are. Our confirmation students have had many campfire worship services in our garden, and the Boy and Girl Scout troops of the church also use the garden space in achieving their badges. They've done all sorts of things out there. The fire pit was an Eagle Scout project, and so that was a really neat connection with the Boy Scouts. And every Wednesday this Advent, we had our youth come out there before the Wednesday services, hold an evening prayer, and they had a campfire first, and then we headed inside. So we've had many campfires. The pictures from inside the nature center, which has been great because it's like a classroom right out there in the garden. Being outdoors is vital to the development of children and youth. It's emphasized in the book that many teachers have read, called Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. It's this book. Louv argues that today too many of our children are suffering from nature deficit disorder, and we must combat this with gardens and outdoor play. So that's one of our boys reading in the garden. So if anybody, these books are $10. If anybody wants to buy one for yourself or someone else, feel free. Our gardens bridge the generations. Lunch Bunch has enjoyed salads picked from the garden. So that picture, that's from our garden here at Ascension, and we've done. That was one of our teachers that retired 3 years ago. She had picked some bowls of salad for Lunch Bunch. We need to do that again, right, Charlotte? Adult Bible studies and book clubs have taken place in the garden. It's a community gathering, and sharing is being built in that place. Our gardens are also bridges to our outside community as well as to the fringes. This book's $5 if anyone wants to read it. It's called Seed Folk, and it's about bridging community in a garden. It's gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful book. Pastor Steve has talked about really wanting a peace pool in our garden. We don't have one yet. Our garden could be a bridge to the fastest growing spiritual group called the Nuns, people who no longer are involved with church but they're spiritual seekers and who are concerned with things like food and faith. So we do have a group in Caneo Valley. It's Abundant Table. They have these farm churches that they help other churches set up. Dr. Sam Thomas has chaired the board of Abundant Table, and he teaches at California Lutheran University. So one of the things we have dreamt about is taking that farm church pieces, and once a month, could we have a farm church in the garden? And maybe people are a little nervous or wondering about coming into a sanctuary, but they could come to farm church, and then how they can connect to the bigger life of the church as a whole. Lutheran congregations are invited to become green congregations. This is something Pastor Steve is very much wanting to work on, which doesn't mean we just have a garden space, but we think about how we recycle, how we use electricity. We bring in solar panels when we think of expanding. I actually had a master gardener come out and was just looking at our area and said if we actually would gutter things correctly and build a well, gutter around the roof of a sanctuary and pipe it under, that on a normal rainfall year, not even a abundance rainfall year, we could actually collect enough water to water the garden for a whole year, if we think about that. So they do have resources out there really helping congregations think in terms of that. We have an interest from California Lutheran University and Lutheran Camps and Retreats to work together to be a witness of sustainability in Ventura County. And this picture is Tiffany Naparella, who does all the garden things with me in the tomato sale, and 3 of our Ascension students, and we go to CLU's seed program, and the tomatoes behind them were tomato plants that we actually gave one year to CLU, maybe 3-4 years ago. And Dr. Thomas was talking about wouldn't it be neat to be this witness. And there is definitely a food and faith movement across the country. So some of the core values that we have is that our children and youth and adults find God in the garden, that our purpose is to inspire wonder, marvel, reverence, and awe, and then teach for understanding and wisdom. Now, last year, we had a vision lunch where all these people from the community came and spoke, and maybe some of you were there. Of course, Charlotte was there because you made it all beautiful and did that. But Jackie Irwin, as our former mayor and assemblywoman, was there, as well as the newly retired director of our Parks and Recreation. And one of the questions was, what can the church do to serve the community? And I loved all the things that they shared. But both Jackie Irwin and the Parks and Rec director, I can't remember her name, said we have open space in this community. And if we don't teach a new generation to love the land and to be concerned about open space, we might not have open space anymore. And what do we do for our young people that so desperately need this connection? And the police officer that was there was also talking about drugs and issues with young people, and to be connected to the land. And one of the ways that we serve the community is doing this. We work with our hands and our body and working hard on wholeness. We grow plants, we grow community, we grow character, we grow minds, we grow faith. Now, one of our youth from the church, Rebecca Smuck, I know many of you, I think this is here, know Rebecca. The Smucks have been around for a long time. So, Becca's gone to this church since she was itty bitty, and she went through Ascension School from the time she was first grade through 8th grade. She's now a high schooler, and she got out of school early. Lorena got out a week ago. So she's been helping me all week, and she's been kind of doing year-end things, and she put together a video for the Ascension Garden for the end of the year, and so you get an idea of what happens here that you might not always see. This is what it looks like, thanks to Rebecca Smith. We let the kids go out and have lunch sometimes in the garden. This is them working on the tomatoes, and the tomatoes are teeny tiny. I've been pushed down into the ground. How I have been trampled down. Lord, I put my trust in thee. You won't turn your back on me. Those are our snap. We had lots of snap shoots. We just took all of them out, but we had snap shoots coming out of our jerseys here. We let the kids roll in the dirt. We are comparing sizes there, what affects the road. We had a lot of kids that like to read. They get very excited, the little ones. Then they get to middle school and they don't like to read anymore. We had a read and rest corner. We had grown-ups out there. There's the animals. What's in the nature center? You can hang from the rafters. Very exciting. Yeah. You're really not supposed to cover the roof with a nature center, but we have Pastor Jesus' church members after worship. The greenhouse is falling apart. Every time a windstorm comes up, another panel flies up. Lunch, Sunday, church lunch in the garden. Here's the tomato sale. Make it to have reading time in the garden. So he wrote, "The garden will always be important to me." He carved in a piece of wood. There's our fire pit. We did do, the past week, we did proper fire building and how to make s'mores, getting them ready for summer. So not everything we do is necessarily healthy. They're hosing each other down. And there are beautiful butterflies out there. This is bud hunting. They were super excited. There were some cockroaches under one that caused some screams. And where the stumps. They're painting stones, stepstones that they can use in their own garden and leave there. So they had a carrot that was all attached. So that was the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit here. Cool. Ladybugs. They just harvested carrots last week. So a lot of the boxes going out to the garden today are empty because they've been harvested and then they're going to be replanted. And the summer staycation, kids that need childcare and they do a summer camp all summer. Every Tuesday they're in the garden, every Tuesday morning. So they'll be the ones taking care of it. That's Pastor Paul's grandson. One of them. I accidentally popped a sprinkler and they were so excited.
So you did that. No.
I was trying to fix it and I broke it. Yeah, more, yes. So Amanda and Cole, could you share? You get this image of what we're doing here. What's happening at CLU?
And just so we can leave time, we'll try to keep it brief so we can
Okay,
still have
I'm
time
so
to walk around. If you want to start.
Sure. So at CLU towards the back of campus, there's a little over a half an acre property where over the last several years, students and a few professors have developed this community garden where we have probably over 25 raised beds, we have 7 chickens, we have, I don't even know how many beehives. We also have a very nice greenhouse that was donated, and this year we wrote a grant, 2 grants actually, and we're able to build a worm composting shed that now composts all of the food prep waste from our kitchen that feeds thousands of students.
Oh, wow.
And we also built an outdoor kitchen in the garden to go with our outdoor teaching space that allows professors to hold classes out in the garden, which many of them do on a regular basis, and also just gives students a chance to have service learning through parts of their various classes, like religion and food is a class that's taught at CLU, or environmental ethics, or soils, or lots of science classes. So it gives students a way to not only come together and be a part of growing and creating their own food, but also gives professors a way to really connect students to what they're learning about in a lot of these classes.
Mm-hmm. And then since it's at the university where not all this, even though it is California Lutheran University, not everyone, not even the majority of people there are Lutheran or necessarily religious. The garden itself is, when it's, the purpose of it is articulated, it's to show sustainable ways of growing, and it's not necessarily described in religious terms, but it is inherently religious and political, I would say. And one view that I think is useful is, it was an idea that Luther started talking about and that Bonhoeffer later refined, and it was this idea of the church as a place that witnesses to the world as it truly is, and by that I mean a truly post-resurrection world, and this idea of new earth and new creation. And the garden as this space that witnesses to a system where we're not cut off from the means of production, and to where people and the garden workers, they plant and we pull from the ground and we give it to people. Sometimes we have bountiful harvests where we just have tremendous amounts of artichokes, and we'll just
Walk around to professors' offices or walk around through the main parts of campus, just offering people free artichokes or carrots or onions or whatever
I love
we
it.
have plenty of.
yes,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because a lot of our scriptures, it was written to a Galilean people who worked the land and who were very familiar with this agrarian style of living and life, and we're in a very unique position to where we can look at some parables and we understand the theological implications, but we're completely cut off from the realities of the soil and growing. To where originally people understood the earth, but not the theological parts, and I think we've shifted that and we lost sight of the practical. And this is an effort to reclaim that, because gardening cultivates patience and it cultivates generosity when you have so many mulberries where you have to bring them to church and help give them away or freeze them or preserve them. And maybe just going back to scripture with talking about the CLU garden. So in the 4th chapter of Mark's Gospel, Jesus gives this parable. He said also, "The kingdom of God is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow, and he does not know how. The earth produces of itself first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his sickle, because the harvest has come." And I chose this because growing and being connected with the earth, it does help expand the wonder of creation and God's wonder. And going to a supermarket and always having vegetables in saran-wrapped containers isn't very wonderful or awe-inspiring. And getting back to agrarian roots and growing and putting a seed in the ground and just having to trust and have faith in that and in the earth is, I think, important, not only for the earth and creation care, but our own spiritual lives. And unless you have anything else to add.
Amen, I love that. Janice, you have a question for us?
Yes, but the CLU garden, what's the best way to visit it? I mean, can we
Show
just
up.
show up, park, and just walk over there? And
Absolutely.
okay, we won't
Yeah.
have security, you know,
No.
chasing us out or
Yeah,
anything.
you can-
Okay,
Park by the tennis courts, so it's
Okay.
the part of campus on the other side,
okay,
Closest to the
Olsen.
mountains.
okay.
and then you can just park near the tennis courts, and then there's a path you can just walk down, and it's by the
It's kind of-
baseball fields.
It's behind the baseball and softball fields,
Okay.
and we can point it out to you on a CLU map if you need.
Okay.
Or most CLU maps online probably
Yeah.
have it printed.
But feel free. This applies to everyone. Go out there and check it out at any time. The gate's usually closed because of the chickens. Go ahead and walk right in. You're welcome to look around. If there are students out there, feel free to make conversation. There's quite a few garden workers that work throughout the school year and throughout the summer. Cole and I have both been some of those student workers. They can tell you more about what's going on.
It is also something that's open to the community. Our sheds have locks on them, but other than that, you can come, look, go into the greenhouse, visit the chickens, and
Cool.
it
Okay.
really is something for students and for the community.
Okay.
If you feel inspired, you're also welcome to work in the garden or just go out there and start pulling weeds or pull a carrot out of the ground if they look ripe or whatever
And then,
it is.
Yeah, all the
it's really
beds
open.
also have little plaques telling you what it is, so.
Okay.
So who take care of the weeds and insects?
She
and-
does.
Wow.
It's just,
You do.
there's a group of CLU students that work the garden, and
I have
And then
so
lots of volunteers that come out on weekends to help as well.
Yeah, there's also Seed Saturdays where usually once a month,
It's about every other week.
every other week, a bunch of people from the community and alum from the university get together and just do giant work projects on Saturday mornings, and they call it Seed Saturdays.
And those are always posted on CLU's website if anyone's ever interested in going to one of those.
And you can be a friend on Facebook.
Yes.
To get updates.
Yeah, and then, yeah, there's a Facebook group as well for the Seed Saturdays you can join, and
Okay.
So in order to go there, am I getting Campus Drive Street? How you know the left turn is University Village, right side is you get into the.
Oh, no, you would go, 'cause it's on the University Village side, so you could either,
Oh, I have to go University Village.
no, but it's on that side of the,
if you were
Yeah.
coming
Also,
up Olson, like from the 101 coming, you'd turn left on Mount Clef, and then you'd be by the gym, and then you would take that first left into that big parking lot, and you could park there, you'd see the tennis courts, and then you can you walk back.
how about from Linlord? We go from Linlord, from 101.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Let's
I
do-
meant Lynn Road, so yeah, from Lynn, because Lynn just turns into Olson, so from the 101 on Lynn, you would just keep going and then turn left on Mount Clef and park over there. And if there's anyone on campus, most people
Can direct you.
can give you help with directions.
Is there an overall organizational group that keeps track of what's going on in the gardens and
Yeah.
puts it all together, so to speak?
So Dr. Sam Thomas, who Cheney had mentioned before, is actually the professor that oversees it all.
Okay.
He meets with the garden staff every week, so there's about, this semester I think there were 7 of us. So students who would meet together in the morning, look at what needs to be done, and recognize which projects needed to be worked on throughout the week. Then those students who each worked about 10 or so hours a week would throughout the week then continue to do those projects. So that's kind of the more structured organization behind it. But there's also a pretty decent amount of volunteers who will just come out and say, oh, well, this needs to be weeded, so I'll do that. Or, oh, the chickens need some love right now, so.
And that structure is just to ensure there's always someone taking care of the garden, but also giving students an opportunity to have a job and make a little bit of money while they study at the university.
Is it under like the student work grant, or,
It's just
Right.
it's
It's just one of the on-campus jobs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's like an official
I don't think
federal
it's
work
with
study program.
I don't believe it's with the work study program,
Okay.
but and yeah, Sam Thomas chairs religion and the garden, which is interesting as well.
And the abundant table.
He's not on the abundant table anymore.
Oh.
He's on the forest watch now.
Oh. He's a man of many skills and a great person to get to know if any of you ever cross paths with him.
yeah, he's taught some classes here, when we've done different series, not on the garden, but he did an Old Testament class. He did a class on water is sacred, many members were there with that, and Sam does religion and garden at CLU, and that's what I do at Ascension School, religion and garden.
It's amazing how the two. go
They
together.
really fit well.
It's not a
Mhm.
coincidence.
I am, this is my daily prayer book called Celtic Daily Prayer. The Celtic Christians had a great love for the land. I'm going to say this little gardening blessing as a close, and then for those who want to walk out to the garden, we'll walk out this front door, up the road, and over there, anyone who's able and interested in seeing it. So God of creation, we meet you here in a garden in color and scent, texture and pattern, the humble perfection of all that grows. Out of our restlessness we come to the garden to still our minds and open our senses to beauty. In your name we cherish the web of life, light and shadow, bee and butterfly, shy birds that return when we leave. God of new beginnings, we meet you in hard clay, hungry slugs and stubborn weeds, failures and half-finished projects, and dying and decay. In your name we offer thanks for worms, mold, and microbes, patiently transforming waste into fertility, sharing the labor with us. God of hope and harvest, we meet you in the changing seasons and the gifts they bring. Produce full of flavor, crunch and goodness, earthy and fresh, no two are the same. In your name we celebrate rain and sunshine, our struggles and successes, handfuls of peas and a glut of beans. We are glad and grateful, and we thank you. God, in community, we meet you in the garden, both alone and together, in quietness or conversation. In the ground, we play and pray. We let friendship, wonder, and worship grow. In your name, we welcome each other in the garden, weak and strong, weary or lively, children full of curiosity and fun, to share this moment in your presence. So Lord, bless the land, bless its soil, bless our hands and our tools, our toil and our rest. May our body and soul be nourished, and may earth and life flourish. Bless the garden and bless the growers. Amen. So a little bit of what we have out here, this is our stumps. This is a gathering area here. It's also great for tipping the stumps over and going bug hunting and learning about bugs and creatures. On that little pallet there, there's pots and pans, and it's actually a little music place to do sound. And there are certain songs that we sing. The second graders could all sing "For You Dirt Made My Lunch." They're super cute when they do that. And then we have all these boxes, most of which have just been harvested for the end of the school year. And so there's not a whole lot in them right now, but we had snap peas coming out of our ears. And we do have one box, we just put some melon in, and we have cucumbers that we'll be planting for the next, oh, there's one of our cats. You can see right down by the labyrinth. We do have cats that live under the preschool, and they will come and visit. So the Nature Center was purchased from last year's tomato sales. So this allows us to have an outdoor classroom space so we can keep paper and pencils and scissors. There's books, there's binoculars in there, there's a little chalkboard so kids can write what birds they've seen. There's magnifying glasses, all sorts of things that are always on display in there. And we can actually fit a nice group of kids in there in our nature center. I'll let them fit here too. We have our greenhouse that's falling apart. We have several fruit trees. We have lemon, orange, peach, not the apricots right there, peach, plum, pomegranate, and we would like more fruit trees. The fire pit is way down in that corner, and we'll gather there. And we have different tables and chairs for students to gather. The tree in the middle that is dying, it's got some growth on it, is our bird tree. So we had a student, and he's a church member as well, who just loves birds. And he took on the project to get some bird houses and bird feeders, and he started teaching all of the children how to identify different birds. So we have a bird identification book in the Nature Center, and just have kids come out here with binoculars and look. And in the morning, I always come, and most mornings I'm out early and opening the Nature Center, and there'll be dozens and dozens of different kinds of birds out there. And way at the end, we have lounging chairs, a little sign that says read and rest. The very last box has the solar powered thing that may or may not be working. And it's a monk's garden. There's lavender, and we try to put biblical herbs, and we talk about the medieval churches and their gardens as part of the religion curriculum connection. The compost is way down there. We have one great composter, and Janet's been awesome with the compost, and we'd love to do a lot more. I love that the lunch, Amanda, that's so cool. So if we could get to that point for if there's a church meal or the lunch that the school kids have, or lunch bunch, or we could compost, that would be awesome. We don't have a regular composting of those items. Anything that the kids eat out here, like we made fruit salad this past week, and Another day, somebody brought watermelon that we don't have watermelon yet, and they know when they're out here that they compost it, but we don't go from there to here and compost. We really need to do that.
And what style composter do you have out here?
Janet,
Well,
you
we
want
got
to
all
talk?
four, there's the tumbler, that's the most recent new one. But then we have the, well, you'll see them, it's just the, I would
Okay.
say gravity
Tiles.
ones. Yeah,
Okay.
but I go ahead, it's actually quicker if I just go ahead and just turn it myself with the shovel and that
Okay.
type of thing. But, yeah, once they get going, I mean, they can break something down, in a couple of weeks. It's amazing how quickly, once they're happy, and get that soil going in the air and the right moisture and such.
In our greenhouse right now, we have different succulents. So we do succulent classes too, and have the kids collect different clippings from places. So that the little seed pots that started the tomato seeds for us, so we saved all the little starter seeds, and now there's tiny little succulents growing in them. And so they might do a little succulent sale in the fall, I don't know, but there's some succulents in there. And then there are pumpkin seeds right now because our students at the school planted pumpkin seeds, and they get to either take their pumpkin plant home if they have a place for it, because if they transplant on the 4th of July, they'll have a pumpkin for Halloween, thinking that. So they can put it, they have some of the small ones, they could put in a pot or in the ground, but if they don't have a place for their pumpkin seed, then they can have their name and know that everything we share out here, try not to have it possessive, but they can know when they come back in the fall that they can check on their pumpkin. So some of them will go in these empty boxes, and that will make some pumpkin pies in the fall and homesteading, and we do pumpkin carving and that. And we do have a lot of pumpkins from the sale that the children's ministry did last year that we composted in the ground, and we're going to water and just see if some come up down there. I'm not sure yet. Other questions or wonders?
I wanna see your composter.
Oh, Janet, take people to the compost.
It's been neglected
She's
for about a
amazing
month,
with compost.
just because I've been gone on vacation here most of May and everything. So now that they've got starting to settle, I gotta get them cleaned up. Oh yeah, this is my favorite. This is what I use at home. The basic Rubbermaid. Yeah, what's missing though is other kids, people. I can't be here every day. I try to come at least once a month. But see, it has the holes in the side of it, and the trick is that you gotta get the air into it. And then moisture too, so it's the air and turning it. And this is why just a basic trash can is actually better. Well, you got the gravity ones where you just throw the stuff on the top and then you open the bottom door and take it out with a shovel, but that takes a year. These guys here, it's the same principle, but I've been able to just use the shovel, take the top off, turn it with the shovel, and then this will break down. This needs to be watered. Like I said, it's been neglected for a month or so since I've been gone.
Now,
I'm
does
really
that-
the only one.
Does it have a bottom on it, or is it open to the soil below?
It is open to the soil, yeah. So that's to remind kids that there are like black widows in these guys in the corners, which I do knock down.
I've got two trash cans like this one, cut the bottoms out, and then the holes up the sides and everything. But
Okay.
if I keep it watered nicely, the worms take care of the compost.
Okay.
They come up, the red,
Okay.
red worms.
Okay.
They do a great job.
They would, yeah. Yeah, that's more of a worm composter
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. But yeah, I'll have, it's like making sourdough bread or bread where you start with the mother dough, the mother yeast.
Yep.
I'll do the same thing where I'll have some good soil, really healthy with the organic organisms in it already. And then I'll start with that, my starter, and then I'll add the dead, dirt to it, and then your organic matter. And it's a combination of your green, grass clippings, and then your brown, because you get your nitrogen and then your carbon, and together, when they break down, you really get it feeds the soil.
Need both.
Yes, the green and the brown, dry leaves, green grass clippings, in addition to the original healthy compost soil too, so those three. And then I cover them, so I'll add water to this, and by, turning it, you get the air so that it's moisture, and then your air with those organisms. And yeah, it'll break down, you turn it once a week, ideally, there's a little earwig type deal. But then I'll put the liner, the trash bag on top just to help keep the moisture in, and then they like the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So you just can come back, so those banana peels, those will take a little bit longer, maybe a couple weeks instead of just 1 week. But some stuff, boy, you got old lettuce or tomato or ends or pieces from strawberries. You throw those in, and next week when I come back to turn it and water it and everything, those will be gone already. It's amazing how quickly, within 1 week. But yeah, just the heat and the moisture and everything all working together. And I see a lot of God in compost. To me, it's just not dirt. The atom, Adama, it means, we are named, from Adam. That's soil. Adama is soil. So it's sort of a neat, play on words there, but we are part of this living soil. Yeah. And it's more than just dirt. So yeah, I see a lot of God in compost. It's neat. The life from nothing.
All the way down.
It's so alive. So, but yeah, just a basic Rubbermaid trash can. I put holes in it, and
Except
the heat and the water and such. But but these guys work too. But I just have to do a shovel. And the kids, this is great for the kids, because then they'll get their little shovels and and turn it and mix it. And it's almost like a great big cauldron or a stew pot, and get in
That's where
there.
that one works really well.
Yeah, this is our newest. It was a donation. Let's see here. I haven't peeked at this guy in a month. And he needs help. See, if you just do it this way, he's missing the soil. It's too much.
The starter.
Yes, and there was some in there. It's way at the bottom, but the ratio is off. So I'll come back here. I don't know, maybe this afternoon even, and just add in. Ideally, sometimes you can even, like the chicken compost for $1, the bag that you can get at Home Depot, just toss that in. It has enough microbes and stuff just to get it going, and water it just to get it going. But yeah, the ratio is off on this one. But here again, I haven't opened this in like a month, so I'm actually not surprised. I didn't know what I would see in here. So, and of course, you do not want to put weeds in the compost. Here we got one here.